Hi guys, Dr. Mal here. We're busy with intermolecular forces, the forces between molecules, and we're going to specifically have a look at the influence of temperature. And we know temperature is actually measured with the kinetic energy. Temperature, we can see, the kinetic energy is the movement of the particles. So we've done van der Waals forces, and you know the state of matter actually has an influence. Now let's have a look at the intermolecular forces, and I'm not going to repeat this again, but bear in mind that you've got to be able to identify NO and F with an H as the hydrogen. Then you've got to know the dipole and the induced forces, and these three form the van der Waals forces. Then we also have the two with the ions, and you need to be able to know which one is stronger than another. Let's have a look at a graph. Now, you've done this graph before when you said if the temperature increases, we actually have the kinetic energy that's different. So, if I increase the temperature of a solid, and you can see it here, I get to a stage here where the molecules that's very closely packed then move apart from each other. And it's then when we change the state. It's the potential energy that will then change. It will happen exactly here when I've got the liquid changing to the gas, where the potential energy changes again. Now, why is that important? Because the temperature has an influence on these intermolecular forces in between these molecules, and we need to be able to declare that. So let's have a look. Intermolecular forces here, very tight, very strong. Here less intermolecular forces, and here can you see the distance there? So the intermolecular forces very weak when it's in a gas phase. Now the two words that you've got to be able to define, the two aspects, will be boiling point and melting point. Now you know when we did this experiment, it was a solid going to a liquid. That we call melting. And when a liquid goes to a gas, we call that boiling. So what is this specific point and what is that specific point? You've got to know those two definitions. The boiling point is, and I'm going to show you a very easy way of remembering, it's the temperature. So you write down the temperature where when a liquid in the liquid state is going to become a vapor. Now we know it's liquid becoming gas, but that's not the definition. It's in fact when this vapor pressure is equal to the atmospheric pressure. So what you can see in your mind is if you had a test tube here and you had the liquid there, and I'm going to draw a small little balloon there. And if this balloon has the vapor going in there, it will obviously have a pressure exerted on the balloon. Now that's the definition that you've got to know. As soon as this vapor pressure on the inside of the balloon is equal to the atmospheric pressure on the outside, as soon as those two are equal, that temperature will be the boiling point. The melting point is much easier. It's the temperature, again the temperature, when the solid and the liquid is in equilibrium. So you've got to know those two, and I can give you a very, very good tip. One of these will be in every exam that you write. Right, let's have a look at the phases. Can you see I've got molar mass on my x-axis and temperature? And you know, as the temperature increases, we've got molar masses here. So what will a experiment do to actually say what's the changes in intermolecular forces as the molar mass increases? And you can see I'm going to draw a few there. It's a small molecule and a huge molecule there. These molecules will need much more energy to break than these ones here. So we can actually go and say, right, what is the change in molar mass and temperature? And our conclusion will be the greater the molar mass, the greater the intermolecular force. Right, so we made the conclusion. How will a question be put to us? This question says, we've got the molar mass here, and I've got molar mass of H and F, H and Cl, H and Br, and H and I. The question will be, why will this be on this very low molar mass, and why is this less energy? Can you see there? I need less energy to actually put these intermolecular forces and break them. So why is that the occurrence? Interesting, guys. Did you see H and F? And can you recall the NOF? So what I have here is in actual fact the hydrogen bond. Here, a hydrogen bond. What I have here is dipole-dipole. So the first question that you'll be asked is, why is that energy so high? Because I've got a hydrogen bond. The second question will probably be, why is this one more than that one? And then you can answer, because it's got a higher molar mass. It's heavier. So can you see how the interpretation is when you're working with intermolecular forces? That's the kind of questions that you'll get. So increasing molar mass will increase the intermolecular force. And let's quickly just revise the others. Remember the molecular shape, whether it's a long chain or a spherical, a round or a longer chain. These will have more contact area. This will have less contact area. So it's important that this will have a greater, obviously, boiling point because it's stronger intermolecular forces. The density, can you see the higher density? Stronger forces, more energy to break them than those with the lower density. So all of these aspects, the phase, the vapor pressure, the viscosity, the solubility, will be determined by the boiling and the melting point. Remember, you've got to know these definitions. And then finally, we hope you can get all your marks by doing the good distinguishing between the difference in IMF. Remember, hydrogen, dipole, and induced dipole. I cannot stress this more than just the fact that you've got to know your table, that you've got to look out which intermolecular force will we have, and then say, what's the effect of the mass, the shape, and all the other physical properties. Guys, it's important. You'll get these questions in organic chemistry as well, and you'll have to know intermolecular forces very good. Bye.